Hello, this is Jim Skelly, and this is the Global Conversation. It's week number 3 in the spring semester of the year 2010. There's a lot going on this week, a lot of things I want to raise with you. Shortly, we'll be seeing more participation from the students at the Institute for Social and European Studies in Hungary, because they're returning to the Institute this week. Some of them have, and I'm grateful to them for this. Some of them have been following the course regardless on the internet and participating. And with regard to that participation, let me just say that I hope all of you are going to engage as much as you can in an exploration of the 20 questions I posted. The 20 questions are not only meant to give you a broader sense of some of the problems that we face and some of the issues, but also to begin to get you to interact with each other. So you can either divide up the task or deal with it however you'd like. Some of you may be more engaged with this than others, but please go right ahead and dig into it. I think some of you will be shocked at some of the information, shall we say, especially some of that information about those of you who have cats and dogs may in fact be more than a little bit concerned at the environmental impact of little Rover or Fido or whatever kitty is called. At any rate, do take a look at that stuff and lots of feedback. The more feedback, the better. The more discussion we stimulate. Okay. Now, a lot of other things going on. One of the things I'd like to mention is a number of you have raised questions about, God, we've had a lot of reading to do. And something that you should know about me is that I always assign more reading than you can possibly do. It's just that there's so much to know about. And I have difficulty restraining myself and saying, oh, but you really should read this, okay? Now, I don't really expect you to read it all. I put it there and hope it'll grab your attention. And I want to give you all a piece of advice that my advisor gave me when I was working on my doctorate. He gave this to me and a number of other people, and I've since passed it on to many students. Read as much of what you're really interested in as possible, and as little of what you're simply required to read as possible. It's very good advice. You have to follow your own intuition about what will really engage you. So approach things that way. I think you'll find it much more useful. Now, so this week you should be taking a look at Jared Diamond's work. I hope you're being engaged with that, because this metaphor of these Easter Island and other societies that collapsed because they exceeded their environmental limits, I think this is terribly, terribly important. And this week we're looking at our own complicity in the problems that we face, most fundamentally through our involvement in consumerism. We all buy things we do not need, and we are socialized to be consumers. How did that happen? When did that occur? And one of the ways to explore this a bit is to look at the 1-hour part 1 of the film that Adam Curtis did called The Century of the Self. The Adam Curtis film explores the way in which public relations and advertising seduced people into buying various products that they would otherwise not have purchased. The most famous one being in the 1920s, when this was just getting started, this public relations advertising world that now dominates our lives, is when the father of public relations, a man named Edward Bernays, managed to get very attractive young women to smoke cigarettes publicly. Now, that was considered a very bad thing, and women who smoked cigarettes publicly were considered, shall we say, not exactly morally of high quality, right? Usual stuff, always discrimination against women. But what Bernays did was to get these very attractive young women at the Easter parade in New York to light up cigarettes and then say that they were torches of freedom, right? A torch of freedom. They were feminists, right? So, and they wound up getting lots of people, lots of women to smoke, which of course made the tobacco companies very happy indeed, and would subsequently cause lots of women to get cancer, which made none of them very happy. So, take a look at that. It's terribly, terribly interesting. And also take a look at the short 5-minute video called The Good Consumer, which will show you, as it has me, my own complicity with this. I always joke because I'm a minimalist consumer, but there is one thing I really like. It's shirts. And I own lots of shirts. Over 100 shirts. Why do I need them? Why do I have them? We can look at the psychology behind this if you want. Okay, so take a look at that material. It's not a particularly heavy week in that regard, but I'm going to send you some information as well on ClimateGate. This is a series of emails that made it into the public realm between scientists and has really damaged the credibility of scientists around the issue of climate. More and more people, as you may have realized, are no longer think. There are polls out recently, both in the United Kingdom and in the United States, indicating that the belief that climate change is fostered by human activity is in serious decline. And the science, of course, shows just the reverse. But because the scientists fudged some of the issues and didn't allow certain information out, etc., we now have a problem of credibility. And so lots of people, I'll send you some information on that so that you can be au fait with that, because you'd want to know when somebody asks you about this. Also, I think you should, even though there's been horrible weather, very cold weather here in Ireland this winter, as there has been enormous snow, as you may have heard, on the east coast of the United States, and very cold weather there as well. And some people say, is this global warming? Well, there's a difference between climate and weather. Climate is the long-time transformation, whereas weather is today or tomorrow. And in fact, information has just been released that shows that last year, 2009, was the warmest on record. Okay? That's globally. It may not be so in Ireland where I am. It may not be so in Pennsylvania or in Hungary, but it is the long-term trend. Also, you will find very interesting, I'm going to send you something on this as well, Andrew Revkin, who is the science writer for the New York Times, wrote a blog the other day. The blog is called .Earth, and he writes every couple of days in this. And the other day he wrote one about the global conversation. He wasn't talking about us, but he was talking about the same idea that we've been developing in this class, which is to use the internet to connect people around the world in a discussion of environmental issues. So needless to say, I wrote a comment on the blog, which has now been published on the New York Times website, and I'll send you a link to that as well. I'm also going to send you something on from Ken Cook at the Environmental Working Group on the Kids Safe Chemicals Act. Please contact your congressmen and congresswomen and senators. It would help if this became law. If you haven't sent me information on your learning circles, please do that as well. And also, if you're able, please send me your Skype address. Add it to your profile, and perhaps I can communicate with you via Skype. We may even be able to have small seminars using Skype. Have a great week, and I'll hope to be in touch with you soon. Please stay in contact. All the best.